Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com.
What's up YouTube, Dal here from Zephyr Games, and today I'm bringing you a brand new variant for Dark Magician, and this time, as you can see, it will be Dark Magician Despia. Now, at the moment, Despias are just a fusion-based engine that can operate in most decks, and I kind of thought, well, why not use it in a Dark Magician version and see where it goes. So throughout testing, I've kind of been able to make routes of getting Dragoon, and sometimes if you do really well, you can get 3 fusions on the board, one being Dragoon, one being the Dragon Knight, and then one being the Despia Quinteris, which can reduce all of your opponent's monsters' attack to 0, pretty much giving you a full attack. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. I'll also show you a test hand at the end of the video so you can kind of see the plays that this deck can make and the routes that you will want to take it with. So let's dive headfirst into the profile. Now, this is the first time I've ever done this in a Dark Magician profile, and it's kind of a little bit weird, but we'll see how it works. And what I mean by that is only playing 2 Dark Magician. Now, part of a Dark Magician group that I'm a member of, they kind of said that they've cut a lot of ratios down. They've kind of made it 2 Dark Magician. They kind of made it 2 Dark Magical Circle, and obviously a massive shout out to Chris Missing on this one as well, who helped me kind of put this list together. And I kind of thought, right, okay, let's see how it works with 2 Dark Magician. I'm not fully set on it as of yet, because you do kind of want Dark Magician to help your fusion combos, because all of your Dark Magician fusions require him specifically, and that's where you kind of need him in the hand or the graveyard. But you don't want to brick on 2 of them, so it's kind of a give or take moment. Then, of course, we are playing Triple Magician Souls, because Magician Souls, not only can it help get you a light monster on the board, which is important, and I'll show you once we get to the extra deck, but it can obviously help you with draws to get rid of your dead spells, and on top of that, put a Dark Magician in the grave or on the field. Alongside that, your main normal summon. So this is the only card that if you ever open up this with Jester, this is the card you want to normal summon, is of course Triple Magician's Rod. Now, this is going to search you out near enough 90% of your Dark Magician spells and traps. We're not playing huge amounts of them, and there are a couple that I might consider changing around as we develop, but it does kind of get its utility as well. It can become a light monster for your Albaz, and this is the best thing about, of course, Rod and Souls, is that they can technically, in theory, change their attributes in order to help you out with your Despia fusions, but also your Albaz fusions as well. Speaking of Albaz, we do play triple Albaz. The reason we are doing this is because he is a dragon. You don't really want to be using his on-field effect. You ideally want to be using the Despia field spell, Theatre of Dreams as I like to call it, to fuse with Dark Magician and Albaz. Now obviously the way you get this is you get Dark Magician to the field off of Souls with an Albaz in the hand, activate the field spell, wham, bam, thank you, that is your Dragoon. Yes, your Dragoon is only going to get 1 pop and burn rather than 2, but you do get the utility of Albaz. On top of that, if you do get the ability of putting Dark Magician into the graveyard through your Souls, and you want to use Souls as a draw, what you can then do is you turn Souls into your Artemis, and then you use the field spell to fuse Albaz with the Artemis to give you your Albion. And then because Dark Magician's already in the graveyard, Albion can then banish Albaz and Dark Magician to give you a Dragoon. And by doing that, it does mean that you can continue to combo off. So if you did get another monster on the board, like a normal summon of the Rod, you could link it away into a Verte Anaconda with the Albion, because Albion will have an end phase effect as well. And then that Verte can then lead you into the Dark Magicians, the Dragon Knight, or another Dragoon should you wish to go there, depending on if you've got another Dark Magician in the graveyard. You can also put Dragon's Mirror in here as a kind of option, because most of the Albaz cards are dragons, but that just kind of is down to you on your personal playstyle. On to the Despias. Now we are playing triple Tragedy and 2 Jester. The reason we are playing 3 and 2 is because we don't want to be normal summoning Jester. Jester is only going to be used to be special summoned off of the branded quick play spell, or you're going to be searching it off of Tragedy. Now the reason Tragedy is so good is if you fuse with it from your hand or field, or if it's just sent to the graveyard or banished by a card effect. So if you wanted to, you could put in the text of Gold Sark and of course the text of Foolish Burial as well. But the best kind of combo with this deck, and what I really like, is you activate Dark Magical Circle, stack your deck, and then activate a Lore. And the best thing about that is because by activating a lore or stacking your deck with Circle first, you find out if it's worth to activate a lore, what you're going to draw off of a lore, and then if you do banish Tragedy, you then trigger his effect to search you out the Jester. And you only want to normal summon the Jester if you don't have Rod, because, you know, at the end of the day, you get a normal summon a turn, you want to make sure you use it. So if you don't have a Rod, Jester is your second play. And then if you already have the fusion spell or the field spell, then you'll go for your drama, because then drama is going to give you a free monster back, and as long as you've not locked yourself into fusions by that point, you then get a free 3k beater on the board, or you've got free fodder to make Verte Anaconda to kind of go from there, or fusion material. Then for the rest of the cards, we are playing 1 Obelisk and 1 Apprentice. Now, Obelisk is foresight of what I am playing because I do still play the True Name. And the reason behind that is, again, I just feel that it's such a good card. When you're playing cards like we're now playing 2 Circle, shocker, spoiler, and triple Soul Servant, you're going to be able to stack your deck on a consistent basis. So then being able to activate the True Name to not only give you a free monster on the board if you don't already open the Obelisk, but to let you add any of the cards you put to the top of the deck is absolutely insane. So what I love the most is activate Circle, and then you can put something like Fallen of Albaz on there, or the Despia field spell, activate the True Name, add that card to your hand, and then summon out an Obelisk. Obelisk also serves a second effect as well. Because his attack is 4,000 or more, you can use him to make in your graveyard Titaniclad, the Ash Dragon, which is then going to give Titaniclad a nice 1,000 boost just off of Obelisk, not to mention Albaz, which is going to give it an additional 400 attack. So you're going up to a 3,900 boss monster, and you've used this as fodder. So you could have used this as link fodder to get into either Cross Sheep or to get into Verte Anaconda, depending on where you want to go from there. Moving on to the spells, of course, we are playing triple Allure of Darkness. Now, obviously, with this, you want to be banishing your Tragedy is your first target. That's the target you're like, easy, cool, banish, done. Jester is your second target if you have already got a Rod, and then you've got spare Rods in there to banish and Souls as well, should you wish. Plenty of targets. Triple Soul Servant, stack. As you can see, we don't have a Red Eyes in here, and we do not have a Dark Magician Girl, purely because if you wanted to put Dark Magician Girl in here, that's where you'd go with the fusion deployment route. And the reason I took that out is because I actually wanted to make link plays to change attributes of some of my monsters. So that's kind of where I felt that taking out fusion deployment was a lot better and running it this way, because then I could put the True Name in, and the True Name gives you an add plus it gives you a summon, and that's kind of the ultimate route that I went down. If you're not a fan of that and you prefer to play Fusion Deployment, then of course you can do, because Fusion Deployment can get you Dark Magician, it can get you Dark Magician Gale, and it can also get you a Fallen of Albaz. The reason we've taken Red Eyes out is because, again, I didn't want to rely on Red Eyes and Red Eyes Fusion, and I've taken them out completely. You can add them in, it will bump the deck up to a 42 card, and what that does allow you to do is it does give you that fail-safe of worst case scenario, right, I'm going to get 2 monsters on the board, Verte, Dragoon, and hold back and control from that point on. But with this particular build, we want to be more aggressive. We want to be going into at least 2 fusion monsters, if not 3. And that's why we are rooting with a Cross Sheep alongside other cards as well. Then, of course, we are playing 2 of the True Name. Alongside, again, something I thought I would never do is 2 Dark Magical Circle. But once you think about it and put it into practice, it actually makes a lot of sense. Now, the idea is that Rod's first target to search will be Magical Circle. If you've already got Circle or Servant, then you search the other piece, and then you're guaranteed to stack and add off of Soul Servant. So playing a 2 of this is working okay at the moment. With 3, you can brick on it, because yes, you might get to add 1 from your deck to your hand by revealing it off of Circle, but ultimately the game's pace is so fast right now that it's very rare that you get to resolve 2 circles, not to mention if anyone's playing Cosmics, Twins, MSTs, and of course stuff like Veilers, Imperms on your Rod, and then Ashes on the Circle as well. We're then playing Triple Branded Opening. Now this is the card you ideally want to be getting out, Jester out of the deck with, because it also allows you to get the normal summon of Rod, the special summon of Jester, and you pretty much get to go full combo from there. On top of that, if a fusion monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by card effects, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. So if your opponent does Dark Ruler no more you, then this still gives you the ability to protect it as well. It's a shame that it doesn't protect from battle, because that would be awesome on top of that. But the idea is you discard a card to take a Despia monster and either add it to your hand or special summon it in defense position. So that, again, that gives you access to Tragedy should you have a Lore in the hand. It gives you access to Jester. It also gives you access to Drama should you put it on the field, use it as fusion material, and then it comes back. For the field spell, we are playing 1 Terraforming and 2 Theatre of the Branded. Now, again, this is something that I might consider changing around, whether I put it Despia to 3 or whether you put in like another field spell here. Keeping in mind that we do get the new field spell at the end of next month when the tins come out. The idea with the Theatre of Branded is during your main phase you can fusion summon 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. Its second effect will rarely come up, but there are chances where if your opponent doesn't read it correctly, you can stump them quite nicely with this. So if a face-up non-fusion fairy monster you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, or is destroyed by battle, you can target 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So the idea behind that is it does give you that recursion that you can bring your Dragoon back out of nowhere. So if you put the field spell on board, and your opponent Dark Rulers you, and they're like, right, cool, I'm not going to read the field spell, all it does is fusion, and they attack Dragoon, they get Dragoon off the board because it's one of the biggest threats that they see, and then they attack something like your Jester you've left on the board or a Tragedy you've left on the board. You then get to trigger the effect to bring back Dragoon, and because it will no longer be under Dark Ruler no more, should they activate an effect during the battle phase, you can negate it. That's just an example. You do have other stuff like Titaniclad, Albion, the Despias as well. So it does give you a couple of options you want to go for, and if you want to, it is very easy Souls fodder to just send and draw. Again, off of Dark Magical Circle, if you've seen what you've put on the top of your deck and you're like, okay, cool, I can play with this, you can send the Theatre and then get an additional draw. We play 3 one-offs in Magicalized Fusion, Reasoning, and Branded in White. Now, Branded in White is basically your searchable fusion spell that lets you fuse from your field. So you special summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a dragon monster. If you use Fallen of Albaz, you can banish it from the graveyard as well, and that is where you can use Dark Magician from your hand, field, or banish it from the graveyard with Fallen of Albaz to make a Dragoon. So this gives you a follow-up play for that, and it is searchable off of Jester. Magicalized Fusion does the exact same thing as Branded in White, but because it's a fusion spell, you can use it going through Verte Anaconda. Now, the idea is that you would have built up some fusion monsters already, make Verte Anaconda, and then you can send Magicalized Fusion to banish a Dark Magician, and of course to banish an Albaz to give you a Dragoon. If you've already got a Dragoon and you've got 2 spellcasters in the graveyard, then of course you can use Magicalized Fusion to give you the Dark Magicians. If you don't have a dragon at all, do not worry, because Magician's Souls can send itself to the grave to summon the Dark Magician. You turn Dark Magician into an Umduct, you normal summon out a Rod. Rod gives you a Circle, Eternal Soul, Soul Servant, anything you want. You then link the Soul Servant or the Jester or anything into with Umduct to go into Verte Anaconda, and then your Magicalized Fusion is then live, because you send the Magicalized Fusion, you banish Dark Magician, you banish the Umduct, you make your Dragoon. Again, you are taking away the ability to double pop and burn twice, but you shouldn't need it. You still want to be going first, you still want to be able to make your protection play, and then your Dragoon should be enough to win the game from that point on. If not, that is where you're backing it up with your other fusion monsters, and that is where the Despia Quinteris comes in, because even if your opponent has multiple monsters that you can't deal with Dragoon, Dragoon gets rid of the defense position monsters, the Quinteris reduces all of your opponent's monsters to 0, meaning that your Quinteris is going to do 25, your Dragoon's going to do 3k, 4k if it's negated something, and your Verte is going to go in for 500 already, and straight away that puts them down on 6k. So all you need to do is pop a monster of 2k or more and you have won the duel. Then the last card we play is 2 Eternal Souls. Again, I think even with the new field spell, you'll probably still only be playing 2, but I don't know if I'd be playing this particular version with the new field spell. That's something I'll need to be doing testing for, because keeping in mind, we're probably not going to get the new core set until 2022, but we will get the brand new free cards, which ultimately, in my opinion, only one of them is worth playing in Dark Magician, which will be the field spell, and I'll play around with this depending on how well that is going to function and operate in the particular deck itself. So that's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra, I'm going to show you 16 cards, but some of them are variations, so it does come down to your personal preference. So we'll start off with the Link Monsters first, and the Link Monsters, because we play quite a large count of Link Monsters, is the reason why we don't want to be playing Fusion Deployment. If you don't play if you choose to play Fusion Deployment, then you can change these up quite a bit. So we're playing the 1 Artemis. So obviously the idea of this is you turn your Rod or your Souls into this, gives you an instant light target for your Albaz, so that when you fuse using the field spell or even Albaz's effect, you're able to trigger and go into an Albion, and Albion can then banish the materials from the graveyard to give you another fusion, so that if you wanted to be extra spicy, you could put a rank 8 in here as well, but ultimately I don't think it's required. Then of course we've got the 1 Umduct. Umduct, it serves so many more purposes. Its effect may come up at some point or another. The only downside in comparison to this and Link Spider is the fact it is 200 less attack. But really, if you're leaving Link Spider on the board to attack, there's something a little bit wrong. Now, in this particular version, you might be a little bit fearful of Nibiru because you do special summon quite a lot or summon a lot. But if you play it cleverly, you can get a goon way before your 5th summon, so you are protected and good to go. Then for the other ones, we do have the one Verte Anaconda. Like I said, your Verte Anaconda will not be using Red Eyes Fusion. It will be using Magical Eyes Fusion, ideally. Then we've got the one Cross Sheep. Because we do a lot of fusion summoning, and we do that way before we even lock ourselves out using Verte. Keeping in mind as well, just I thought I'd mention it in case I haven't, Branded Opening locks you in into fusion summons for the rest of the turn. So as long as you do all of your Link summons before you activate Branded Opening, you are good to still rock and roll. But yeah, the idea between Cross Sheep is if you're playing stuff that discards, so if you discard off of, so after you've already used, after you've already summoned Cross Sheep, if you then use Branded Opening to give you a fusion monster and you discard something like a Tragedy or a Jester, or even if you put a Fallen of Albaz into the graveyard, once you activate a fusion summon, so use the field spell fusion summon, Cross Sheep will then be able to bring that Albaz or the Jester back. The Jester can then get you branded in white, or the Jester could get you the Branded Opening. All examples like that. So when you're using stuff like Apprentice, you don't worry about the discard. You actually think a few plays ahead and go, right, okay, Cross Sheep can actually bring this card that I've discarded back for me, and then trigger the effects. So Cross Sheep is one of the flex spots alongside either one of these as well. So BLS can be a flex spot, but what you need is you do need a Boss Link monster. So the Boss Link monster we have at the moment is access code. If you don't have access to it, then don't worry about it. You can put in a Crusadia Avramax, because the idea is you would make Selene. Selene can then bring back Dark Magician, turn Dark Magician into Umduct, or bring back Rod or Souls, turn it into Artemis, link those two together, go into Avramax. But between your boss monsters, these are your two boss monsters. You need to choose which one you want to play. Again, like I said, if you don't have either of these, because they are quite costly at the moment, that's where you'll put in your Crusadia Avramax. And trust me, Avramax is just a pain to deal with. Keep that in mind as well, that if you combo off your Quinteris with your Avramax, your Quinteris can reduce your opponent's attack to 0, which means they're going to take a massive smack in the face from Avramax, and they can only attack Avramax as well. So all of your fusions are going to be protected. So that is a budget option for you should you want to go that route. And the idea behind Selene is literally it can go from Cross Sheep plus if it brings back a spellcaster. So Cross Sheep, bring back Soul. Soul sends some spells to draw cards. Souls plus Cross Sheep, make Selene. Selene can revive, turn that into a monster, go into Crusadia Avramax for your defensive play, or go into access code for your aggression play. So it depends on if you're going first or second, and I still think going first with an Avramax is absolutely insane. If you wanted to, you could go into a 2-negate Appaloosa, but I think Avramax might give you more protection for your fusion monsters going forward. So that's it for the Link monsters. Moving on to the fusion monsters. Of course, we are playing double Red Eyes Dark Dragoon because you can pump 2 of this out. Whether you choose to pump 2 out in one turn is entirely up to you. Ideally, I would probably go 1 Dragoon and then 1 Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, because they both require the same materials. And then at least your back row is protected, which your back row is really only going to be Eternal Soul in this particular version, unless you decide to set some of the quick plays as well. And then, of course, following off from the back of this, the other Dark Magician, you do have the Dark Magicians. Now, this is obviously going to be very specific on if you've got a quick play spell to activate, if you've got an Eternal Soul to activate, to give you that additional draw, or if you know what the top cards of your deck are, which after playing Verte Anaconda will be very rare if you do, unless you hold back a circle for, like, hindsight. Then we'll move into just the generic card. So the generic card is Starving Venom, purely because you get 2 dark monsters on the board with the greatest of ease. So using the field spell to make Starving Venom, boost its attack, destroy all special summon monsters, you know, you name it, Venom is quite a nice one. And if you decide to side in Super Poly, at least you've got a very easy target right there and then. And then we've got 2 Despias and 2 Fallen of Albaz fusions. Brain went numb there. So we've got, well, the one Albion, which in my opinion is the best one, and the one Titaniclad. Now, Titaniclad is just basically a boss monster, so it's Fallen of Albaz plus a monster with 25 or more attack. So obviously Dark Magician, nice and easy. But this is something that you want to be summoning by banishing the materials from the graveyard, because then that will allow you to get a much more stronger Titaniclad as well. The idea with Albion is you summon Albion, Albion can then use his effect to banish the materials from the grave, so that can then lead you into a Titaniclad. It can then lead you into a Dragoon. It can lead you into pretty much any fusion you want, depending on what it has. Then for the Despias, we've got the one Quinteris, and we've got the one, not even going to attempt it, but the big boss badass guy. So this one, again, specifically requires Despia, one light, one dark. So the only lights that you're going to be able to use are, of course, your Artemis and your Selene, so keep that in mind. But the idea is that you would summon this as a go first or a go second card if your opponent is going to be putting link monsters into the grave, because you can quick effect either banish them or special summon it to your side of the field, which gives you link fodder during your next turn. Quinteris is a quick effect to reduce all of your opponent's monsters during the main phase to 0, and by doing so, that will mean that your boss monsters are going to be able to swing in nice and easily. So again, Quinteris also gives the ability of stuff like Rod, and if you turn your souls into Selene, gives them the ability to clear monsters off the board. So if your opponent just needs their monsters cleared off the board and they're pains to deal with, reducing them to 0, get rid of them, you're good to go. Then you can go into Verte Anaconda, and then Verte Anaconda can then start producing stuff for you, whether it be the Despain or whether it be something a little bit else. Now keep in mind, to make these, you're going to need different fusion spells because they are fiends. But the day that we do get a Dark Magician, so we've got Dark Magicians with dragons, if we get a Dark Magician with fiends, hint, hint, summon Skull, then this deck's going to blow up, because then all of your Despias are fiends, so you've got even easier fodder to start making your fusion summons. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for the deck itself. I hope this has given you a couple of ideas of your own particular version. Dark Magician is my most passionate deck. I love to kind of experiment with it and produce different variations and different options for you guys to see as well. So I hope this has kind of helped. With that out of the way, I'm going to reset the board state and we'll do a couple of test hands so you can see the roots of play behind this deck as well. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a test hand going first and possibly a test hand going second of how this deck operates and its route of plays. So after a very decent shuffle and a good old cut, our test hand 1 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Absolutely fine and pretty decent as well. Keep in mind, the second you activate Branded Opening, you do lock yourself into Fusion Summoning, but that's only from the point onwards. So everything you do beforehand is going to be designed to not do that, so go into Link Monsters. So we're going to normal summon the Rod, because at least with Souls, we got two routes to this one. You can go Souls first, but then it then comes down to what you want to root for, what you want to play, how you want to do it. So if you do Souls first, you send Dark Magician to the graveyard and then choose whether you want to summon it or not. If you bring the Souls back, basically what you're doing here is off of the circle, if there is a card good enough that you want to draw into, you would then make that route of play. So it really depends on how you want to go and what route you want to make it. So I'll kind of explain both options as we go. So regardless, this is going to be Dark Magician or Magician Souls. If we need a dragon, we want it to be Dark Magician. If we don't need a dragon, then we're happy for it to be Souls. So we're going to activate Circle after we've shuffled up. And the three cards we will reveal off the circle will be 1, 2, 3. Now, it's not a bad hand to have, because you would add the Eternal Soul. And this is how you're going to get maximum up of it. So you're going to put the true name to the top and you're going to put the theatre to the bottom. So then what you want to do here, so this is the option where we're going to want Souls, because Souls will then send an Eternal Soul to draw a card. You'll then activate the true name to call Despia Theatre of Branded, which of course you'll call correctly. That will then let you add the theatre to the hand and summon out the god from the deck. So that is your free monster on the board, your free fodder. Now what you want to try and do, and ideally what we want to aim to do, is to get the Dark Magician back so that we can get a dragon. And there is a way we can do that without going too far. So activate the theatre. Now, two options here are, you need a Despia to really make the fusion, so the only other fusion you can play would be the Dark Magicians, which is completely fine, because option number 1, link these two together, go into Cross Sheep, activate the effect of the field spell to use your Dark Magician plus your Souls to make yourself a Dark Magician. Now, by doing that, you'll trigger Cross Sheep's effect. Cross Sheep's effect will bring back a spellcaster, which will be Dark Magician. So you've got two routes on play on how you want to make this. So route number 1, you just go straight into Verte, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. But what we're going to do here is we're actually going to go into Selene. Selene's going to have 1, 2, 3 in the grave, which means she's got 3 counters, which means she can revive Dark Magician again. You then turn Dark Magician into the Umduct, and you then link Selene plus the Umduct and go into your Verte Anaconda. So that's a very convoluted route to get to a dragon in the grave, but what we've kind of done here is we've given ourselves a couple more options. So you can activate the branded opening. By doing so, that will give you the draw off of the Dark Magicians. It locks you into fusion summoning from this point on, which you're going to guarantee to give you a Dragoon. The only issue is you do sacrifice the souls. So route 1 would be set the souls. Don't think we've got a soul servant in the grave. No. So you'd set the souls, you'd pass your turn, activate the Eternal Soul, bring back Dark Magician, because we've got both, have we? Yeah, we've got both in the grave. So you'd activate Verte Anaconda, make Dragoon, hold on to the branded opening, which is fine. Banishing the Umduct and the Dark Magician to give you a Dragoon. You've got the discard in the hand for Dragoon. You've activated, then during your opponent's turn, sorry, you activate Eternal Soul, bring back Dark Magician, gives you a banish, gives you a random draw off of the Dark Magicians, and then you're still good to go. Plus you've got the protection to protect both the Dark Magicians and Dragoon using the branded opening. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 would be you activate the branded opening, send in the Eternal Soul, so you don't have that interruption during your opponent's turn. That will then give you Jester. Now, by getting Jester, what it does is it gives you another branded spell. You'll also be able to trigger to get the draw off of the Dark Magicians, so you would end up with something like this, which will be Jester plus a random draw, and then Jester can then add either another branded opening or a branded in white. Now, with this particular board, you'd still get your Dragoon, which is absolutely fine. So with this particular board, what you've done is you've guaranteed another card in the hand. You're not going to be able to trigger a spell or trap during your opponent's turn, so you wouldn't get the draw off of the Dark Magicians. But what it will do is it will leave you with a Despia on the board, so that should your opponent destroy any of your fusions first and then destroy the Jester, you bring it back. But we'll go with the stronger route, and the stronger route is pretty much just holding back a little bit. So, activate the effect of Verte Anaconda, send in your Magicalized Fusion. There we go. Banish the Dragon and Dark Magician. Give yourself a Goonie Boy. Set your Eternal Soul and pass. Now, like I said, during your opponent's turn, you can shotgun the Eternal Soul early. It's entirely up to you. You want to make sure they put a monster on the board. So activate Eternal Soul, bring back Dark Magician, trigger the effect of the Dark Magicians to draw, trigger the effect of Circle to banish. You've now got 2 cards in the hand. Should your opponent activate an effect, you can discard the branded opening. That would be my opinion, because then branded opening can protect both of these, while Eternal Soul is also protecting Dark Magician. Then obviously from this point on, you're able to pretty much draw for turn, switch to the attack, link it off if you want to, do whatever you need to, link with Verte Anaconda, whatever the play you want to do, effect to burn, to pop and burn, attack, good to go. You've also got the effect of Despia Theatre, should you want to fuse again, but you would need to get into a Despia monster. So that's obviously one route or one option, and you can kind of see that it does give you a lot of plays, it does give you a lot of routes. Obviously, if you wanted to make this a heck of a lot easier, you could just put Red Eyes Fusion in there. Then it would mean you wouldn't need to rely on turning Dark Magician into Umduct, you wouldn't need to play Magicalized Fusion, and it does give you that optional route as well to end on a Goon without banishing materials. So it's entirely up to you, but the way I see it is if you're going to do that, because you're guaranteed to put a Dark Magician in the graveyard, you would then choose to play Dark Magician Gale, and it then starts making the deck like a 43 card deck. So it really does come down to personal play style and routes you wanted to go. And like I said in the profile, I was trying to make this without the Red Eyes Fusion. So now we'll go second and we'll be a little bit more aggressive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Absolutely fine. These 2 cards, this one's live right now because we've got the Albaz. And the reasoning is going to be good to kind of bait stuff out. Obelisk is great discard fodder for the branded, so we're actually in a good space. Activate reasoning, again, same as before, we're going to guarantee that it goes off. I'll be amazed if my opponent calls it correctly while I burn through loads of my deck. There we go, Tragedy. Which is perfectly fine. You can normal summon the Albaz and use your opponent's monsters, so depending on what they have, you are in a good stead for that as well. Do we want to link? Let me have a look. I love how this hand's going to be like 0 Dark Magician plays. Like, okay. So you've got a couple of options on this one. Your normal summon will obviously be the Albaz. I think it'd be foolish not to. So what you can do here is you can use Albaz, discard the Obelisk, fuse himself with, if your opponent's got a light monster, great. If not, you fuse him with Tragedy. Entirely up to you. We're going to act as if our opponent's got a light monster, because that will give us Albion. Albion will then be able to use his effect to banish Albaz and Obelisk, or you can hold it back for Branded in White, but Branded in White still acts as a fusion spell. Keep that in mind. By banishing Albaz and Obelisk, we get Titaniclad. Titaniclad is going to go up to 39 base. Massive boss monster already. And then again, it depends on where you want to go from here. You're still not locked into fusions, so if you wanted to, you could make a Link monster right now. Keeping in mind that your Albion is only a 2500 beta, it's not really going to be doing a lot more for you. So you could go into a cross sheet to revive some of your monsters once you put them there, or you can go into Verte Anaconda. But again, Verte is only going to be able to send Magical Ice Fusion, and unless you want to put the Red Ice Fusion in here, it's not going to go much further for you. Still got plays with all of this on board, because what you can do is you can choose to activate Branded Opening, discard the Branded in White, or Tragedy, doesn't really matter. You're going to special summon out your Albaz, your Alba, keep calling it Albaz, Alba in defense. Alba's effect is going to go off to give you the Theatre. You're going to activate the Theatre. You're going to fuse with Tragedy and Alba, and this is going to give you Quinteris. There we go. Effective Tragedy is going to add you an Alba for the follow-up plays, or you can add yourself a Drama. Really depends on which route you want to go. And then from this point on, your Quinteris is going to reduce everything to 0. Your Titaniclad is going to go in for 39 direct, Quinteris 25 direct, and then your Albion 25 direct. You're now locked into fusion, so you can't link or XYZ or anything like that. Just keeping in mind of the routes of play you want to go. But that was a very, apart from the graveyard that we filled up with Dark Magician spells, that was a very Dark Magician-less play. But you can still see what the board can present itself with, and what you can kind of build from the back of that as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more test stands or more videos reviving around this deck, then by all means let me know in the comments below and show me by smashing that like button. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.
Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com, where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com.